All right, you guys, happy Wednesday to everyone except Brian Harpole. What an absolute nutcase. Am I right? I mean, you guys flooded us with comments yesterday. Doctors and nurses and ER techs. You guys were just on fire about the absurd story he presented, wherein he led the OR team. He took a gurney, pushed Charlie into a vacant room, jumped on top of him, apparently found some scissors and cut his t-shirt off from his body. What in the fantasy series are we even talking about? Not even in the fictional world of Grey's Anatomy, because they want it to be realistic. I think Brian is a liar, liar, pants on fire. And feel free, Brian, to add that statement to your lawsuit against me. The story that you described did not happen in an emergency room. Now, I want to especially appreciate those of you who pointed out the additional absurdity of him claiming that he jumped on top of Charlie to cut the shirt off, because why, sir? Are you 3 feet tall, Brian Harpole? Why would any adult-sized man ever need to physically jump atop a gurney to cut a t-shirt off? Like, are you miniature, Brian Harpole? Are you not taller than a bed? Do you think that that's what surgeons are doing? Paramedics jumping on top of people to cut a shirt off? I mean, it is an astoundingly dumb story the more you think about it. So the question is, why did he tell it? That's what we're going to explore today. Because methinks it might be because it offers another clue as to what actually went down on the way to the hospital. Since they have conflicting stories, him and Frank Turek. We're going to talk about that. And speaking of miniature, Ben Shapiro's Daily Wire is still crashing and burning financially. Semaphore released an article, and it looks like since they can't find a private equity firm dumb enough to invest in them, they're going to attempt a Hail Mary pass. They think you guys, the people back at home, are dumb enough to invest in them by buying shares. They're going to go for an IPO, putting themselves on the stock market. Would you purchase stock in the Daily Wire?
The funny part is a lot of people will do it. I mean, not everybody hates Ben Shapiro, right? It's not everybody. A lot of people out there. I mean, he still gets some views, not a lot, but I mean, comparing to what he used to get, right? Comparing to that, it's really not a lot, but he still gets some people. He will get some people that will buy this stock. And honestly, as much as we say all these things about Ben Shapiro, which are true, by the way, we are not just saying things. If he starts doing what he's doing now, the stocks going forward, I feel like in the long run, he will get somewhere. Okay? Not a bad idea. So let him do it, and let's see how far he's going to get. I'm sure he's going to get somewhere. With time, a lot of people will be interested into it.
Are you an idiot like Brian Harpole? Let's find out. Welcome back to Candace. Boy, oh boy, do I love you sleuths back home. Okay, I have to tell you, crowdsourcing to solve a globally consequential murder, this might be the first time it's ever been done in the history of the world, but it should not be the last time. Check out this email that we got yesterday in response to our show that we presented. What another sleuth that actually happened to notice yesterday, that mysterious white on the black tempered glass shards that were shattered in the back of the SUV. That sleuth from yesterday pointed to the plausibility that Charlie's road mic was rigged to explode. They said, look, there's white on some of these pieces, Candace. Well, then we had someone send us an email and they started putting the pieces together. One crucial piece. They wrote, Dear Candace and team, I'm watching your show from earlier today. I'm in France. And I had to stop watching when you showed the shards after reading that email. I quickly spotted the USB logo on the shard at the 15-minute, 30-second mark, the one to the left of the screen, closer to you, and I wanted to check it. Please see below. All I did was screenshot your video and rotate the bit with the shard to line it up with a promo shot of the Rode mic. I think there's no room for doubt here. It's clearly the USB logo and/or icon. Game over. Feel free to get in touch if you have any questions. I'm going to show you. This is what they attached to like from our show, the picture. And they then obviously flipped it and showed that that was the USB. I think this is incredible. Legendary Inspector Gadget finding. We did it ourselves. We can blow up that image and rotate it as well and put it side by side with the Rode Mic's UBS icon. So that really is something. I do feel like this is what we have to do. We have to get really molecular to close this case. I do believe firmly that it was Charlie's road mic bits that were shattered all over the car floor. And by the way, you guys were so in the weeds on this that I even had opticians emailing me to inform me that it was not possible for it to be sunglasses on the ground. The emails were like, hey, I don't know if you know this about sunglasses, but they're actually not allowed to shatter like that. There's a whole process in how they're created because obviously they are covering people's eyes, so they cannot create them in a circumstance in which they might shatter and glass would get all over people's eyes, which is why, generally speaking, if you break your sunglasses, if you break your glasses, they maybe crack or the lens just pops out of the frame.
That makes sense.
And it was amazing. I'm learning so much. And she sent me step by step of the qualifications, what they have to pass, the inspections they have to pass. Anyway, this brings us to Brian's Pinocchio movie, the emergency room edition. Because why exactly did Brian Harpole spin such an extraordinary tale? A tale that I can tell you has upset deeply people who work in emergency rooms all around the world. A frankly implausible story because outside of blatant corruption, incompetence, a flagrant violation of every known law and hospital policy on the books, we can assume Brian Harpole is telling a porcupine, right? So let's at first re-listen to his extraordinary story because it is important and it requires our imagination. Take a listen.
We get to the hospital. Actually, we make it to the hospital through the traffic. We've got full wound pack in. We get out and we carry in to the door. Well, once we make it into the door where we see a gurney on the left-hand side, we put him on a gurney and then I wheel him into a room. I start giving the patient information to the staff there. I end up getting on top of him and cutting the shirt that he had on off, that white Freedom shirt. And so I cut it off so they could get to him so that I didn't articulate this to them, but I wanted to get that stuff off so they could put a defibrillator on him. And so
why so many I don't get it. If you know this story, if you lived it, why are you is the also part of the details? I don't get it. Why? Just tell the story as you lived it. No
and then started talking about pushing drugs. And so I was back and forth with them on drugs and defibrillator. And so then once you get that shirt cut off and moved out of the way, there's enough of medical professionals in there. And so I just want to get out of their way. And so got out of their way and walked out of the room and stood outside the room and held guard on the outside door of the room so nobody else could come in there.
Yeah, I'm going to start doing that when I go to the ER. I'm not going to wait in line. I'm going to grab gurneys. I'm going to start telling them what kind of drugs to give them and guard the doors. So we have to ask ourselves, what is Brian Harpole trying to answer for here with his story, right? He's actually admitting something. Common sense, every fib that is told is only told because you're trying to cover up a truth or explain a truth that might not make sense, right?
Okay.
So what Brian is, I think, rather truthfully admitting here is that he was the person responsible for the removal of Charlie Kirk's shirt, right? No other way to no other reason to insert yourself into that narrative unless that piece is true, which as we explore our rigged microphone theory is an admission that Brian Harpole would be the person responsible for removing the biggest piece of explosive residue evidence, Charlie's shirt. He is attempting to make that sound reasonable to the public. I was worried about the defibrillator, and that's the reason why I cut Charlie's shirt, in case you find that that shirt had been cut using scissors later down the line. Now, since I do not accept that a random dude took command over a hospital ER room and was grabbing gurneys and was allowed to freely jump across on top of, a bleeding victim with a pair of scissors in hand, someone who is this the person who harmed him? I don't accept any of this. I have to then logically consider that Brian removed Charlie's shirt somewhere else, right? And the only other option would be in the car on the way over to the hospital. Now, beyond anything else, the story that Brian tells us about what did happen in the car does not match the evidence of what we see in the photos that we were never supposed to have in our possession. These photos were never supposed to see the light of day. So let's review Brian's claims so that you understand them, okay? First, we submit to you all a graphic of how they all piled into the car, okay? So we are in a GMC SUV. You've got Dan Flood there in the passenger seat. You've got Justin Davis driving. We have Brian Harpole, Rick Cutler in that middle row. Charlie is going to be across them. You note his legs are hanging out of the door. We're going to discuss that in a second. And in the back seat to himself is Frank Turek. So here are the facts based off of Brian Harpole's testimony. You know, they have different testimonies, but Brian Harpole's testimony regarding that short journey to the hospital was about 8 minutes away. If you look that up just on Google Maps, that's if you're doing the speed limit. But they were not doing the speed limit. Brian makes it clear that they were going 60, 80, 100 miles per hour. That's what he says. We're going 60, 80, 100 miles per hour, weaving through the streets. So what we can reasonably deduce from that statement is that there was no traffic on their way to the hospital. You can't hit those speeds if there is traffic. And so they probably arrived faster than the 8-minute Google Maps estimation. We can safely assume that means that they shaved off a couple of minutes, approximately, let's say, a 6-minute ride. I think that's fair, right? It's also important to note that Brian claims that they did not close the car door, which was behind him as he was working on Charlie, where he was sitting, right? He says it was because Charlie's legs were too long and they just needed to quickly get out of there. If you go back and watch footage of them pulling out, you can indeed see that the door is ajar. So let's assume that's true. And instead, how they dealt with this door, which was open while they're doing 60, 80, 100 miles per hour, is Rick Cutler holds Brian Harpole steady as Brian is working on Charlie. Okay, so he's trying to stop the bleeding in his neck, according to Brian Harpole. And Rick Cutler is basically, he's entrusting his life to Rick Cutler. Take a listen to Brian's own words on this.
The problem is we're going down the road and Charlie's so tall that his left leg is down in the door and the door won't close. And so I'm on my knees with the door open with my butt hanging out of the side. And I'm on my knees doing the medical. And Justin's driving, we're going 60, 80, 100. And Rick has me across the kit in my shirt so that I can use both hands to do the medical on. And so you don't fall out of the car. So I don't fall out. And I just look at him and I don't need to say, you got me. He's got me. I know he's got me. Rick's a brother. He's got the tattoo. And so I was like, he's got me. And so I'm just working medical. And Frank's praying out loud. Rick's praying out loud.
Okay, so if you're imagining that, we're going to try to do like a really sloppy AI to present that to you. But if you're thinking, by the way, hey, Frank's in the back seat, he's not doing anything. Could he maybe just kind of lean over and close the door? Well, you heard him. Frank, according to Brian, was simply praying in the back seat. He's on his knees on the ground. We've got Rick Cutler reaching over to him. And he then claims that during this time, while Rick is holding him, Rick is busy, Frank's praying, you got those other two in the front, he's going to put 36 feet of dressing around Charlie's neck. 36 feet. I want you to hear him say that's a remarkable amount. Very short drive. He's working, like he says, quickly. Take a listen.
I've got to stop that bleeding. That's my primary thing. Mm-hmm. And so where he had a pulse then, it's unknown. The body's an amazing thing that can do things even when it's technically, destroyed. And so my concern is bleed control. And so I'm just, Rick's got me, Justin's driving, world's coming by. I'm working, I end up putting about 36 feet of dressing in him, and then four 4x4s, and then 2 hemostatic 4x4s.
Now, yeah, again, I'm wondering, could Frank Turk have come in for an assist here? But he does make it clear that he doesn't know whether or not Charlie has a pulse. They're not doing CPR because his focus is on getting his wound dressed. And he also says the human body is amazing. I mean, we've learned that. It's so amazing. It stopped at 30.6, 3,000 pounds of energy coming at him in a bullet. So why not just keep going? Let's just hope for more miracles here, not check his pulse and not do CPR and just worry about stopping the bleeding with 36 feet of dressing. And he repeats that story to Paramount Not So Tactical in a separate interview. Take a listen.
We're getting off the X, and so I'm on my knees, and I'm both hands, and I'm starting to pile out like, back pressure, exactly. And it's the saturation point's unbelievable. And you're not pulling it out, you're adding to it, right? And so we're getting that down in there. And I remember it's a training point. We've done to it before, and there has to be a better way, like a manufacturer. Maybe we can go into it. It's like that little slit on the side of those.
You're talking about the hemostatic gauze?
Right.
Yeah.
It's like, guys.
I usually go in and actually cut them a little bit more.
But then, it's like, we need something to pull. We need something in real time, right? And so I'm opening those with my mouth and then putting them down and then spreading it out a little bit and then putting them down so I can get a pack in that. And then I'm holding it there and then working off the other one.
Okay, so 12 yards, 36 feet. He's opening the packs. He's talked about he's got 2 packs of this with his mouth. Discussing how difficult it is to open those packs. Miraculously, there's no evidence of that in the car. What there is evidence of is that he used one 4x4 EMS quick clot dressing, which he admits he used that just one pack. Here is the picture. We can actually look at the floor, and we have the entire floor of the back of where he was. And you can see that he's got that one pack, which he potentially opened with his mouth on the side. All of that looks to be a fact check true. And I just want you to see, like, this is 4x4 dressing. Here's the actual pack that's available online. I don't know what to think about why there's not more, why we can't see more. If he's pulling out all of this on the ground, I would expect to see more unless they mysteriously cleaned up the other packs that he was opening. No, those 4x4 packs, those are just 10 centimeters by 10 centimeters, nowhere near the 12 feet, the 36 feet that he's talking about. Now, he certainly, and it sounds like, also had a roll of dressing, but those are sold at just 4 yards a roll. So why on earth did Brian have handy 6 rolls of dressing in his small medical bag in addition to clotting packages? That just seems to me to be very excessive, and like we should see some evidence of that on the ground. Okay, I'm just asking you to park that information in the back of your mind. There's a reason for that. If we continue to look at the actual evidence of the car, we then have to ask ourselves, what could account for Frank Turek's, and it has to be a lie, according to Brian Harpel, it's a lie. Frank Turek says that he himself, Frank, tried to start CPR. And to be clear, we can immediately determine that Frank Turek is likely the one lying in that scenario and not Brian Harpel, because Charlie was lying across the seats, okay? His middle section was therefore not flat. You cannot conduct emergency CPR on a person that is laying across 2 captain chairs with their midsection in the air. Brian, both of his hands are occupied. He would be, it's not an ideal position at all, but like he's the person that would be in the position to address Charlie's chest area. It's not possible, okay? You need a flat surface to do CPR. Everybody knows this. And Brian has already admitted that it was him that was on the floor, down on one knee beside the chair because Charlie's legs were dangling off, okay? Here's a very bad AI diagram that we're trying to show you of what Brian Harpel is saying happened, right? Brian would probably be a little more backed up toward the end there. And of course, we know Rick is going to be pulled over to the side, holding on to him. Frank Turek is in the back seat. You're not conducting CPR in this environment. I cannot stress enough that CPR could not have been conducted in that car. Brian is telling the truth twice when he says that. He focused on the bleeding, he says. So why is there this disconnect? Why not just simply say, if you're Frank Turek, yeah, I was just praying in the back? I'm going to tell you what I think. I'm going to tell you why I think, similar to what I said before, when you are telling a little bit of a porcupine the rule is because you're trying to introduce a truth that doesn't really make sense. Okay, so here's what I think, not what I know. This is the allegedly, if O.J. Simpson did it, okay? Not fact, my opinion, allegedly. I suspect that the CPR story, which cannot be true, and which Brian Harpole says is not true, was necessary because Frank needed an excuse for why he changed into hospital scrubs when he got to the hospital. Remember, Frank did not help carry Charlie into the back of the car. He did not run over to Charlie when Charlie got hit. He never traverses over Charlie's body or near the men that were holding him to get into the car. Do not forget, Frank climbed into the SUV from the trunk. He didn't even have to go through, he climbed in through the trunk cleanly. Let's watch Frank get into the car, courtesy of Terrell Farnsworth. Take a look at this.
He just shot Charlie.
Watch that trunk. There's Frank. He's going to get in that way. Nope, Rick's going to be busy. He gets in, runs around, and opens the trunk and gets into the car. Clean. Fresh, white polo shirt. So Frank did not touch Charlie after Charlie got hit. He did not help transport Charlie into the SUV, and he entered clean through the trunk, meaning there shouldn't be any blood spill on Frank Turek, okay? He had to willfully hop over from the trunk to even get into the back seat in the first place. The back seat, which should have been clean, according to the story that Brian is telling. So given those facts and given Brian's testimony that Frank just prayed while they worked, how did he get so much blood on him? He certainly should not have had a significant amount of blood, which required him to change his clothes into surgical scrubs at the hospital. How did he get so much blood on him? He needed a story, in my opinion. I tried to start CPR. We tried to do CPR. That's why I was touching Charlie. By the way, I want to be clear, there's no such thing as we when it comes to the physical touch of CPR. One person conducts the CPR. Another person might help count, breathe into the mouth. But delivering chest impressions is not a team sport. You can switch on and off. Brian says, we didn't do that. And the person, we didn't even know if he had a pulse. That's what he said. Why would you conduct CPR if you're not, none of it makes any sense. And like I said, the person who would have been in the worst possible position to give compressions to Charlie's chest outside of the driver would be the man from the trunk.
There's just so many things in this video, man. I've watched, that is 21 minutes, bro. I've never gone to 21 minutes. 21 minutes? No way. There's a lot of things in this video. I don't even know what to say, man. I don't know what do you guys, I mean, when you watch all these things, when you hear, that's the thing, man. If you're going to lie, if you guys are multiple in a car, if you're going to lie, I'm not saying they're lying, by the way. I don't know what is happening. I don't know what Candace got, what she's saying. She says what she's saying. I don't know what is true and what is not. You get what I'm saying? I'm just saying, if you guys are multiple in the car and then one of you guys gonna lie, dude, you gotta get your story straight, man. Get one story, rehearse the story, and then you can tell it. All right, that's it, man. Now you got multiple people. Everybody got their own version of the story. I mean, not entirely different, but they almost got a different version. Like that one person got this, I don't know, Alex and whoever the other guy is, they got different versions of the story that they are talking about, that they are saying to the people. Now Candace is out here catching all of them. She's catching all of them and she's exposing them. Why, bro? If you're going to lie, make sure your lie is something that is believable. And people like Candace don't get to come after you. People like Candace don't get to come after you, man. Now she's after you. She's exposing you. Now everybody questioning what it is that you guys actually did in there. Or what you are still doing right now, because it's not over. What do you guys think about this, man? Shout out to Candace, always investigating. Okay, she got the whole world helping her to expose all this lie. That's crazy. That is crazy, man. I'm going to catch you guys next time. More videos on the way. Appreciate you. Thank you.
The devil said gotta just roll. The devil said gotta just roll. For what does it profit a man to gain the whole world and lose his soul? can have the money, cars, and girls, and that will keep my soul. If you want everything, this life you have to sell your soul. You wanted fame so bad, therefore you went and sold your soul. What does it profit a man to gain the whole world and lose his soul? You can have the money, cars, and girls, and that will keep my soul. If you want everything, this life you have to sell your soul. You wanted fame so bad, therefore you went and sold your soul. Yeah. Red bumps. MMA. Yes. Yeah. 24. God first. To the death of me. Shush.